Welcome to the Foundry by Forge College. I am so pumped to have you back with us. If you caught our last explainer, introducing blockchain basics, you already know the raw power of a shared ledger. Well, today we are whipping out our magnifying glasses and zooming way in to look at the literal anatomy of a block.
I mean, it's the million-dollar question, right? We throw around the word blockchain all the time, but what exactly makes up the fundamental brick of this shared ledger schematic? If you've ever wondered what magic makes a block secure, how it actually holds data, and why it's so impossibly hard to tamper with, you are in the exact right place. We're going to break this digital brick down into its absolute core components. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our blueprint for today's technical teardown. We'll start with a welcome to the blueprint, compare the header versus the payload, decode the header fields, look at the tamper-evident chain link, trace a transaction to the persistent ledger, and finally, wrap things up with some next steps.
Section 1. Welcome to the blueprint, the shared ledger setup.
So, think of a block simply as a highly structured unit of data. Just like a physical brick is made of specific materials fired in a very specific way, our digital block is built from two fundamental anatomical parts, a header and a payload. And this structural division, it is absolutely crucial to how the entire network processes information, verifies data, and ultimately agrees on the truth.
Moving to Section 2, header versus the payload, the two fundamental parts.
Now, if we dissect this block right down the middle, we get what I kind of like to call the brain and the stomach. On one side, you have the header. Think of the header as a highly encrypted, very compact shipping label bolted to the outside of a massive container. It carries only the minimum metadata required to reference and verify what's inside. On the flip side, you have the payload. This is your bulky list of explicit, state-changing transactions. It's the heavy cargo inside that container. So, say you use a blockchain to buy a digital pizza. The details of that purchase, who paid whom, exactly how much, those sit comfortably inside the heavy payload stomach. Meanwhile, the lightweight header brain simply carries the shipping label verifying that, yep, the pizza is indeed in the box.
Section 3. Decoding the header fields. Let's peek inside the metadata.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that grasping how this metadata functions is actually a key foundational part of the broader Web3 learning programs we offer at Forge College, because these tiny data fields, they're the secret sauce to the entire system's efficiency. A massive concept here is the Merkle root. I know, it sounds like some kind of root vegetable, but it's actually a brilliant piece of cryptography. A Merkle root derives from hashing transaction pairs over and over until just a single compact root remains. It summarizes all the transactions in the payload into one tiny string of text. It basically acts as a mathematical packing slip. This means any verifier can check this one compact value to prove a specific transaction is included in the payload, and they can do it without having to download or reveal every single other transaction in the block. Honestly, it's elegant and incredibly efficient.
Next up, we have the nonce and the timestamp. The timestamp, as you'd probably guess, just records the approximate creation time, which helps the network with ordering. The nonce, however, is a bit more eccentric. It stands for number used once. It's a tiny consensus-related variable. In systems like proof of work, miners are constantly changing this nonce to alter the header's hash output until it hits a very specific mathematical target. Together, these tiny pieces of metadata do the heavy lifting to help networks order blocks and reach consensus.
Synthesizing what we just talked about, these four fields are your quick reference guide. You've got your previous block hash for chain integrity, which we're going to look at in just a second, your Merkle root for inclusion proofs, your timestamp for ordering, and your nonce for consensus. Seriously, if you ever get lost reading some complex network documentation, just remember these four. They are the absolute workhorses of blockchain validation.
All right, Section 4, the tamper-evident chain link. Let's see how these blocks actually lock together.
And this brings us to the climax of our blueprint. The real hero here is the previous block hash. This is a cryptographic pointer that is calculated directly from the prior block's header. I want you to imagine it as a tamper-evident wax seal that connects one block to the next. Because this hash is literally mathematically derived from the exact block that came before it, the two blocks become inherently bonded.
This causal chain is the brilliant engineering logic of the blockchain. Let's play this out. Say a hacker tries to go back in time and change just one tiny token amount in an old payload. Well, because of the causal chain, changing that transaction automatically alters the Merkle root. Altering the Merkle root changes that block's header hash, and because the next block's previous block hash relies on that exact header hash, snap. The chain linkage completely breaks. The wax seal shatters.
instantly the entire network knows someone tampered with the data. It is literally mathematically impossible to change history without being caught. How cool is that?
Moving to Section 5, Transaction to Persistent Ledger, tracing a transaction's life cycle. Okay, let's shift gears from the static anatomy of the block to the dynamic machine in motion. Here is our 5-step operational flow. Let's say Alice wants to send Bob 5 tokens for a wildly expensive digital coffee. Step 1. Alice creates and signs the transaction, then broadcasts it to the network. Step 2. It hits the mempool. Step 3. A proposer pulls Alice's transaction from the mempool and packages it into a block payload. Step 4. The new block is propagated to other nodes who verify it. And finally, Step 5. Finality and persistence. The block is appended, the ledger updates, and Bob officially gets his 5 tokens.
And this brilliantly illustrates Step 2. Zooming in, the mempool is basically a chaotic digital waiting room. When Alice broadcasts her coffee payment, it doesn't just bypass security and go straight into the blockchain. No, it sits in a local queue of unconfirmed transactions. It's just waiting there, hanging out, hoping a block proposer will pick it up, validate it, and box it into the permanent ledger.
Finally, Section 6, Wrap Up and Next Steps. A quick big picture review.
We have covered some absolutely fantastic ground today. Here's a quick recap of our blueprint just to ensure you've got a really firm grasp on the mechanics. Remember, blocks are split into a compact header and a heavy transaction payload. The Merkle root is your mathematical packing slip summarizing all that payload data. The previous block hash is your wax seal, creating tamper evidence across the entire timeline. And lastly, the transactions themselves are state-changing records that once finalized become permanently auditable entries.
So, I want to leave you with this somewhat provocative thought. If a single change transaction mathematically breaks the entire chain's cryptographic seal, how much trust do we really need to place in each other? Well, the answer is 0. We trust the math and we trust the blueprint. That is the true beauty of trustless auditability. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive. I highly encourage you to visit our website, forge.college, to explore our next lesson, where we'll take these blocks and see exactly how they move across different network topologies. Until next time, keep exploring and keep building.